Welcome to Creative in Tech, a podcast show powered by ReadSpeaker AI. I'm your host, Carrie Roberts, and I'm the brand evangelist for North America at ReadSpeaker. And this show is all about highlighting the various brands and organizations that are creatively using one of the fastest growing spaces in technology, conversational AI. And for these next few conversations, we're going to be chatting with people within the banking and financial space and how they're using this technology to improve, enhance, innovate, and grow their customer experience and strategy. And I'm really excited today to have another fabulous guest. Joining me for today's discussion is Gunasiri Perera. He is the Global Conversational AI Evangelist and the Senior Director of Technology at Virtusa, a global organization helping companies digitally transform. Welcome. So excited to have you here today.
Great. So I'm so excited to join this session and happy to have a collaborative conversation.
Yes. So I want to start off with the company and you as a whole. Can you talk a little bit about how Virtusa helps organizations digitally transform, and then why you are excited about conversational AI? You've been in this space for over 22 years. So can you just talk about that from a company standpoint and for you as a person as well?
Yeah, sure. So Virtusa, being in the industry for 25 years, especially in forefront in as an engineering, innovation, and digital transformation company, and we are constantly looking for business problem, finding a solution to a enterprise world. So me personally, being in the industry as a technology leader, over the 22 years, I was focusing on more of emerging technology. And as a result, that I found that, IPA, RPA, and the emerging technologies, AI. So I moved in my career in that way. But then I found that, conversational AI, contact center transformation is becoming a huge, business pain point for across the industry, not only for banking and finance, telco, retail, healthcare, airline and aviation. So they that spread across all. So then being close to the customer and as a solution leader, so I was very excited to find a better solution for that. So that's how I moved into contact center transformation.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. Like you said, this is kind of an important conversation across various verticals, but today we are focusing on that kind of banking and finance space. Can you speak to where you see this industry going, kind of where they're at, and maybe talk a little bit about the customer pain points that you've noticed?
Yeah. So that's a good point. So what the problem that the customers are facing globally? So one of the key point, during last 1.5 years because of the pandemic, and that problem become more critical for them. So one of the critical problem is that any big corporate today, they are spending millions of dollars for, contact center operations, basically to fulfill customer requirement. They spread across their, workforce around the globe and providing like better service. But with the legacy technology that they're operating at, so either customer has to wait for long time, like a call waiting time is 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes they will ask you to call back. So that's a disappointment for the customer. And the other hand, so there's a big company liability for them to manage diverse skill set. For example, in banking industry, wealth management, risk and compliance, and credit cards, retail cards, and all these things are different skill set you need to manage to serve them better. So that become a liability for a company. And thirdly, even if you have a better solution, most of the time when customer calls them, I mean, you and I may be having that same experience. Either they put you into a static IVR menu driven solution so that you press one if you want to call credit card services, press two, and so on and so forth. So customer get disappointed very easily after a couple of menu driven options. So there's an industry research done. If you get the first time disappointment, they don't try the IVR menu driven system next time. So 85% calls drop because of that. So those are key pain points for the customers, and they're seeking better solution and better and cheaper and faster implementation. So conversational AI stand out well to solve all these 5, 6 different key problems. So that's why conversational AI stand out well in, especially in BFS sector. And we have a lot of success stories I'll share soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty fascinating. You're saying 85%. I mean, so basically 8 out of 10 people are saying, I'm not going to interact with that IVR, or maybe I don't want to contact that organization again because it's a poor experience. And so you're
Absolutely.
frustrating your customer or potential client, and maybe losing them. So this is a simple thing, but also a much bigger issue. And I'm glad that you're mentioning that because I think that's important.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I've used IVR now, and you can tell the difference between something that's static versus conversational, and the experience is different as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, so the other important point is, as I said, that legacy application like IVR menu driven system, so that customer doesn't have any flexibility. And even to change a single menu item, technology team also need to go through certain legacy process that you need. It's not very flexible, so that even customers disappointed, as well as managing that it's not agile and nimble enough to manage in the operation. So those are the two critical points. And the other hand, the conversational AI is more dynamic. In my language, I call it, today people think that mobile banking is one of the leading, but I would say it's late in terms of my technology vision, because in online banking and mobile banking is in the past decade. So now we are in the moving to mobile banking into conversational banking. So that is more convenient. If you look at the demographics, millennial to any other, older people, they are very much comfortable to talk in the same language like you and I talk, right? If I want to do my bank transfer, I want to transfer money from account A to account B. I have a dispute or fee increase. Can you explain why? So it's a simple conversation, and also big adoption from messaging platform than static mobile driven application. So that's the paradigm shift in terms of how the consumer behave, and we are trying to cater for that.
Yeah, I think that's a good example. And I'd love if you could maybe share other use cases that your team has done or potential use cases that you could do, because I think that's part of it. Sometimes we're just not sure, well, how could this help? And the example you just gave of, okay, I have a question, I want to transfer money, I need something else. There's more than one thing happening. And so you need that conversation else to work with you. So can you provide either kind of a further explanation of that use case or other use cases that your team has built and created?
Yeah. So in my current engagement in a large corporate bank, so we have implemented hundreds of use cases in multiple areas, in consumer banking and retail banking and few other wealth management area. I have hundreds of them. So I'll take one simple example for benefit for everyone. So let's say you apply for a credit card and got a first time credit card, and you purchase some products through that credit card because there's a promotion.
Mhm.
And as a result, you get a bill maybe after 1 month. By the time you reach the bill, either because of delay or something, the due date may have passed. And automatically you get charged because of the system, some additional fee because you didn't pay your bill on time. Right? This is a very classic example. So you get the bill and you want to pay the bill, but at the same time, you see some additional charge. So rather than, I mean, online banking allow you to pay the bill, but you don't get the explanation what you want. So if you call center, either you have to wait for a 30 minutes or 45 minutes, or you have to call back and you get frustrated. But if you open your web browser or your SMS or any other channel available in conversational, so what you do, you say, I want to pay my bill, but I want to check why this amount is charged more. So simply in conversational agent, what they do, they understand the utterance that the user types, and they identify the two critical problem that the user has. One is pay your account balance. Other one, the additional charge. So that the AI model behind the scene would be able to understand those two intent accurately and then serve you better. So they will look at, okay, what is that additional charge? And then what response saying, okay, you have been charged because of you didn't pay the bill on time. But then user will say, oh, this is the first time I got the bill, and I didn't know that your due date is this, and I got the bill on this day. And it's a legitimate explanation because of the COVID situation and all. Corporates may have put a policy saying that, okay, so if your bill is maybe, let's say, 1 week delay, we still waive off the full amount. So then that is already implemented within the conversational journey. So the explanation is given, and the resolution is given, and the bot responds, okay, your fee will be waived off. And then customer is happy, and then he can straight away go to the payment, and the payment is done. So that's how you can convert your conversation rather than going through a static menu driven application. I think that gives some very simplistic explanation, but there are many use cases I can talk about uh, if you want to.
Yeah, I think no, that was beautifully stated. What do you say to organizations that say, well, I don't want this to replace our human customer service experience. We feel like it needs the hands-on touch. What you just explained can help in so many ways. If somebody kind of says that, what is your response to them in terms of the value of conversational AI and its ability to help, but not necessarily take away from the human piece?
Yeah. So that's a very interesting, topic, and we did a lot of research on that area, especially creating human-like bot, right? Because anyway, customers at the same time, corporates, they are looking for a better solution and enrich customer experience that we can't compromise while we going with the technology advancement. What we did was, a voice technology becomes so powerful today. I can give a couple of example. Microsoft acquired Nuance Mixed Technology, 18 billion investment. So they are very serious about that voice technology. And few other example like Google SR putting their, statistical model into more neural net model. I can go into detail if you want to. And few other companies like Code.ai and few other like Clean Can all, they are also investing heavily on that. For the last decade, they have experiment, but it's not going to be a experiment mode anymore. It's a pragmatic implementation space in 2019 to 2020. They have gone in accelerated development simply because of the pandemic situation. Customers doesn't have any other solution than working from home and getting their business done. So to answer your question, voice technology can play a bigger role. One part is, creating a very uh, human-like experience, like a better customer greeting. If I were to say, so when I call as a registered customer for a bank, then the voice technology can immediately identify and give a greeting. Hi, Kerry, how can I help you? And then from that point onwards, the conversation is very lean, not even like a menu driven, it's a conversational. That's one part. The other part is when we are enabling, omni-channel operations, like you have a web, you have a mobile application with a conversational interface, and then SMS. Further, you can go for a like messaging platform. So if you are operating in that omni-channel, so what voice technology can play a bigger role? Let's say you start your conversation using web technology, your web mobile browser or a web browser, you start your conversation, but all of a sudden you feel like, okay, I have to go because I'm in a hurry, I don't want to have a long conversation. And then you have a call deflection facility without even going to lose the context what you are talking about. You can simply do a context aware transition from one channel to another. Example, your conversation, let's say, can you transfer me to a call? So then it is immediately transferred to a call, and you can on your way you can drive and talk over the phone with the conversational bot. So that's how it's a lean in your channel deflection, so that voice technology can play a better role in that area.
Yeah, I love not only you're talking about omni-channel, but I think something that you mentioned that is really crucial to making conversational AI the best it can be is, like you said, sometimes people don't have all that time to have this full conversation, or they get taken away. People are working from home and their kids are at home. And that ability for it to pick up on your mobile app in the car or to pick up elsewhere, and having it be able to stick with you is such a great example of how this can help and where it can go. And I just wanted to share a couple here. We have Capilla saying good discussion, very clear, detailed conversation we have going on here. And then we just have a question as well. To what extent do these kinds of features, are they secured from the privacy perspective? Is there a chance of spoofing into such conversational systems and getting the secured information? So this is a very common question we get about conversational AI all the time, about security, and especially in terms of banking and finance. So can you speak at all to how do you keep these things secure?
Yeah, so I'm in actually, the solution architect and even ground level design of all these conversation journeys. So I work with, companies, security officers, and all the, vulnerability assessment, especially in banking. PII data, personal information is very, very crucial. So what we do in most of the framework today, they have ability to do PII masking and even model development. We take care of that, and no security data is published across any channel. And there are mechanisms that we have implemented even for, like, in conversational journey, when you want to do, like, let's say you want to publish a form to get your data, like your personal data. So there are mechanisms that we have implemented. That form can be open only once. So once you submit, that will pass through a secure channel and it cannot be open again. So that kind of mechanism is there. So all the security measures are being taken care of, but still there are, a lot of areas to improve, but we take care of that.
No, thank you for speaking to that, which is great because it is such an important piece. When you've worked with a lot of organizations, is there any type of feedback or data that you can share from these companies that you've worked with in how they've seen things improve, or how people have responded to the conversational AI in terms of this kind of banking finance vertical?
Yeah. So there are certain information I can share public, some of the companies in healthcare industry and especially in my area, BFS, we have a couple of success stories. One of the largest leading global bank, consumer banking and retail banking, we have implemented 38 partner integration in B2B, all retail cards, and 50 odd business use cases have been implemented. So today, their call volumes has been decreased. 1.5 million calls being transferred, completely handled by end-to-end bots, with all these 50 odd co-banking services, which are high priority. And what we did was, we initiate with a pilot with a couple of use cases, implement, and we carefully, decide what are the KPIs or what are the business ROI that you want to tackle. And based on that, we implement. And based on our implementation of the ML model, they have seen significant cost saving as well as a customer experience. As a result of that, we go for a scale development. And Virtusa as a company, we built a lot of, assets and accelerators where you can speed your development, because there are a lot of products in the market, but they don't provide solution. So when you go for a verticalized, domain-led solution, you need to bring some, domain expertise and data science and NLP engineering part as one of the key assets for a successful implementation.
I mean, what did you say? Did you say 1.5 million calls that were
Yeah.
pushed to
Yeah.
conversational AI? I mean, that's huge, right? Because then that's freeing up your people to deal with deeper problems and saves you time, money. I mean, that's the ROI in itself, correct?
Yeah, if you want to give some kind of a, industry benchmark of, one call, if you look at end-to-end call by the contact center person, if it is B2B call, it's $13 per call, and B2C is $7 per call. But if you implement that in conversational AI, your operational cost reduced 4.6 cents per call. It's a huge saving.
$13 if you go to a person, 6 cents if you're using conversational AI.
Exactly.
I'm sold. It makes such a difference. I mean, it does. It makes such a difference, like you said. I don't think people need to feel scared about it. You still need humans to actually do, again, those deeper, much more involved conversations. But there's so much that conversational AI can help with. I just want to share again here. Ideal discussion. It's very timely, especially this pandemic situation. I agree. I think during the pandemic, this has just kind of advanced this space tremendously. Ustav says, thank you for answering his question. The statistics you mentioned are crazy. I like how he explains from the customer perspective. You're right. You're talking about both sides, the customer being less frustrated, getting what they need, but then the institution or the organization being able to save so much money, so much time, help others. Someone has another question for you, Delani. What are the major challenges that you see in the journey with AI for banking and financing? Is there anything that you haven't mentioned yet?
Yeah, so I mean, one is, some companies are very, forefront in adapting into AI technology. Some are lagging behind. So, I mean, I would put them into three buckets. So, first one, they don't have any clue about conversational AI. They want to try out. The next bucket is they have done some pilot, but they are scared to go for a scale development. And some of them may have tried a couple of use cases. They have seen a success, but they don't know how to scale. So we should address all of them together. So my advice is like, conversational AI is now mature enough as a product as well as in the industry as a whole. So you have enough and more success stories that you can refer to build your confidence, right? And then I would say you will start small. That is my experience. You start small and try out your story. And if you see a success, and then go for the big bang kind of implementation. So, and at the same time, with the pandemic situation and all other constraint that people are now having, is a no-brainer for you to try out the conversational AI with the enough and more success story. So because IBA research shows that 2027 there will be a 45 billion market in conversational AI. So there's a market prediction is good, and maturity is good in the product, and adaptation of consumer behavior is also into more conversational banking from mobile banking. So everything is good. So you have to bring technology and the business together, and you need to be in the middle and show that okay, you are the guy who can do that.
Yeah, I think, one of the things you mentioned is you're right. There are those kind of three buckets of people who haven't done it, scared, unsure. There's people who've tried it, but they're not sure how to scale it. And then people that are really mastering it. And I think, as you said, the scale part is so important, but you do have to start small. You've got to see what is working, test it, and kind of build on top of that as well. Naveen Hara says the money we can save insane. Yes, as you were mentioning, if you're tuning in, Gunasiri was just saying that normally $13 to have a call answered by a human, but it can cost a company only 6 cents if it's done by a conversational AI, which is amazing.
Really over 90%. So even if you put, the success of conversational AI, now the model success is, 85% true positive. I mean, if I talk in technical language where, ML model has been matured, now you have domain ontology for to support your industry. Like, let's say if you're operating in healthcare industry, so your ICD-10 standard being followed, and all the question will be answered in the domain that you build. And in BFS, you have, FIBO kind of ontology, publicly available. You can bring that into a ML model. So yeah, you can enrich your domain understanding besides your other neural network ML model. So there are a lot of technology advancement coming into the picture. So on top of ML model, the neural network and the domain ontology now being embedded as part of their conversational AI framework. So that's very promising, and there are a lot of new things you can do.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. We have another question here before I go forward. Is it possible to spread the idea of conversational AI to every banking or finance industry? I guess I would, with the way that's being asked is kind of like, how do we do that in the sense of like, how do we continue to educate and again, get people excited and less fearful maybe about adding this. Is there anything else that you would add to this conversation?
I thank you because you invited me to share my thoughts, and this kind of session help people to understand where the
Mm-hmm.
market is moving ahead and what are the industry insight. And anybody who wants to get more detail, they can connect with me or Virtusa. I have a blog in the Virtusa corporate, or they can inbox me on LinkedIn. So I'm happy to help.
Yeah, there we have a lot of questions going on here, and like he said, you can reach out to him as well. I just want to move forward a little bit from what we had discussed earlier, because I think the other piece that I've been talking a lot about with people on this show is you have, kind of the basis of conversational AI, but then there are ways to kind of enhance it and really create a tremendous customer experience and brand identity with things like a sonic brand, with music. It could be with similar to what we do here at ReadSpeaker AI, which is a kind of a customized text to speech voice. Maybe it's multimodal and there's images and videos. Can you talk about, what's the value of kind of adding those things to create a more robust conversational AI?
Yeah. So in the last 1 year, I would say people focused on more chat conversation because that the other voice technology has been evolved, but it's not up to the level. So now we are experimenting in, more interactive conversation with mobile banking. No, sorry, video banking. Video banking is coming, and so your iris scanning and few other security measures that we can implement when you have, so it's more authenticated before you do any transaction. So with conversational AI voice technology, we can have voice print recorded, and there are different mechanisms that your voice print can be uniquely identified with frequency as well as your bit rates and all. So there are a lot of experiment and implementation done how to uniquely identify your voice print and as an authentication mechanism. And then when you go to video banking, your iris scanning and other things as a authentication mechanism, so that before you start your conversation, you will be identified easily. So that's one part. The other side of that is that, as I mentioned, during the call deflection, how voice technology like Sonic and any other things giving better user experience. So you're not in a mode to talk or chat, because especially the elderly people, they don't want to type things. So you can target those people and give more benefits. And even uh, other communities like blind people and deaf people also be targeted to give better banking experience with different technology. So those areas are very very crucial, and we can't avoid anybody and whoever who want to get the service done. So voice technology as well as video technology coming together as part of this conversational journey can play a bigger role in future.
Yeah, you broke up just a little bit, and I just to kind of emphasize, you talked about kind of this element of there's video banking, targeting, or not even targeting, including rather maybe people who are blind, or what are different ways that you can create this kind of exceptional experience for them. So I love that you kind of brought that to fruition. If we have a lot of questions here still coming in. Again, you can reach out to him as well. But is there maybe one tip or one piece of advice that you would give to the banking and financial industry in terms of either using conversational AI or why they should have it or anything of that nature?
Okay. So based on my pragmatic implementation in the large scale projects, I think four key elements are very very crucial for any implementation. So first one is you have to get the right technology selection where you are operating at. So the first thing is like whether you are a more voice savvy conversation or a chat, then you have to select the right conversational AI framework where I mean I our Virtusa can help on that with the consulting. And then the second part is once you select that, how you manage it, like platform ownership and creating all the integration with backend operations, how you manage the overall end-to-end integration. That's the first one. The second is when you implement, how you implement. There are multiple pieces where bot flow implementation as per your business use case, and then bringing other integration points and building some bots. Sometimes you may need to build universal bot and specialized bot. So you got to design your overall journey. So for example, let's say you will have a universal bot who takes care of basic question FAQs much easier. But if you go for a more domain specific, then you can have a specialized bot. I'll try to relate that into your contact center current operation. The live persons, how would they handle? So they have like 7,000 to 10,000 people around the world, and one person can only handle retail accounts. They don't know how to handle capital markets. But in bot, you can train the bot to handle all these things, but you can make like a specialized bot. So those are the design element that you have to bring, right? So the thirdly, no matter how good you are as a technology leader, you have to have a very constant chat with business people as well as technology people. You sit in the middle and talk to them and very collaboratively and go into the detail when you implement. So my success in one of the leading bank is I'm constantly have a conversation with business people as well as technology. And then we bring the good things from both sides and try to provide a solution. And even after implementation, the fourth important factor is the most important one, I would say. That is the NLP engineering. No matter how good you implement, and you have to get the customer feedback in the production live system and see what the customers are saying about your conversational AI implementation, sentiment analysis. There are negative sentiment and positive sentiment. Whether negative sentiment is more significant, then we have to go back to the drawing board and see what we can do to avoid that. And then we have a constant, NLP engineering, testing, training, and bot deployment as a continuous improvement process. So, and also AI governance, because we have to bring all these things together like a COE, Center of Excellence of, how you manage the entire conversational AI journey. So that is important. So all four aspects, as I mentioned in brief, platform, the bot repository management, and third is the innovation and the business connect, and fourthly, the NLP engineering. All four aspects are very, very crucial in order to make your journey success. So that's the tip I can give you. And this is actually, we tried out, tested, and it is working, and we can replicate the same whoever who is interested.
I love it. You are a wealth of information. I think anybody watching or listening to this definitely needs to rewind and take some extra notes. I think it's great. Someone just commented that it's great to see these new technologies. Never thought of these in our childhood. And I agree, all these things that have kind of come up over the years. So if people want to learn more about anything we spoke about today, they want to connect with you, they want to ask these other questions they have kind of coming in, where is the best place to learn more?
Yeah, so we have Virtusa corporate blog that I maintain. You type Gunasiri Perera conversational AI, so my name will appear. You can read about it, and then you can connect with me directly on my LinkedIn or Facebook, my close connect, and happy to answer any question.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here, sharing your passion and knowledge for this space. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Kerry. I think this is a very good session and continue to contribute in future.
Thank you so much. And if you are watching or listening, don't forget to subscribe to our ReadSpeaker AI YouTube page, as well as check out our auditory podcast of all of this at Creative in Tech, wherever you listen to your podcasts.